and welcome. You are listening to The Live, Nama podcast. I'm Gunjan.
I'm Rajiv.
Rajiv, we've all heard this phrase, the jack of all, master of none. This phrase originated in 16th century as a way to describe someone who is competent in many skills but does not excel in any particular one. It was initially meant as a compliment to highlight versatility, but now it is used more in a negative connotation. What I want to peel onion about the contrast between the two, whether you should be jack of all or whether you should be master of one.
Or why did the narrative change?
Why did the narrative change? The example that I want to bring in here is if you look at corporate, if you look at Elon Musk, or if you look at Tata, from salt to steel, they make everything. And they are tapping each and every industry possible, whatever you can think of. On the contrary, if you think about companies like GE, who was making everything, but then they started eliminating or eradicating the products and everything, and see where GE is now. This is, again, not just corporates, but with individuals as well. But they're so good when we start as a kid. We have to do all these subjects, and then we have to choose a specialization. Focus. Think of one strength only. How, when, and why the narrative change is a question. And what is better, in your opinion?
So my opinion doesn't matter anyway. But I think it's a very interesting topic. I have not thought about it. But here's the deal. I think when you said like 1600 or something, right? When this originated.
16th century.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 16th century. So if you look back on that time, the scope of knowledge was limited. And that's why if you look at the old scientists or philosophers or who we call pundits, rishi, or whatever, the term who were the thinkers, they would be talking about everything. Aristotle had opinion about politics, how to live, ethics, almost everything, economics and everything. Chanakya had the same thing. So the earlier thinkers were, like what you said, jack of all trades. And I think that this was because the sphere of knowledge was contained. As of today, if you want to be jack of all trades, it's humanly impossible. Even if you just take let's say one branch of physics, Newtonian physics, quantum physics, and then within that electromagnetism. So they're like branches upon branches, upon branches. So I think maybe this is my opinion that the reason why this changed over the eras or centuries is because the human sphere of knowledge increased exponentially over the time. So today, if you say I'm jack of all trades, it is assumed that you only have surface knowledge of everything. So what that means is that somebody asks you 2 or 3 or 4 questions, you will, as in ChatGPT terms, you will start hallucinating, right? So the main thing is that, because it is the capacity of human knowledge and the, what you can retain is a limiting factor. But I do have, I personally think that jack of all trades, to be a competent at all the trades is good rather than being super specialist at one. But that's my personal opinion. And we can talk about it because I have some.
And I say this about perfectionist or super specialist as well. Unless until you're a doctor or a surgeon, You don't need to be super specialist or perfectionist for any stream. So that's
Actually,
what.
I was going to take that as a negative example, but
No, if I have a heart issue, God forbid, I would like to go to a heart specialist.
but
If
you
I
are a human being. Your
and
heart may be having it, so your heart may be having an issue because of your stomach problems, or because of your liver problems, or
or
because of
because of
something else.
the or because of the diet or stress or
So
whatever
whatever.
whatever it
Right.
is.
So I was going to take that example more in a negative way than the way you're taking it, but let's go ahead. Yeah.
Other thing, since we are talking about doctors and specialization and all, even if I talk about human body, you cannot specialize in one thing. Uh, for lack of words, I'm using this yoga, but it has to be a combination of karma, jnana, bhakti, and kriya. When all these four come together, that's the time when we realize actually who we are. So here's the comparison that I want to draw. If I have a problem, first thing I do is I go to a general physician where he will recommend a specialist. So this is the comparison that I wanted to draw, that unless until you are in a medical field, you don't need to be a perfectionist or a specialist. That was the only area that I wanted to leave out from being
Okay.
master of one.
Master of one.
Master of one.
Okay.
Although
Okay.
humanly, I feel it is not possible to have mastery in one because we have still not explored everything. There's still a lot to go. Like you talk about physics. If I talk about economics, we talk about astronomy. You cannot specialize in one because there's still a lot to explore.
You can specialize. The only issue is that the specialization will only dig a deeper and deeper and a deeper hole, and will not lead you to conclusions, or the conclusions that you will get to would be very, very narrow. And this is a problem that I see even, in my own field of computer science. I talk to people, or I have managed the teams where I see people coming in from very elite universities, but they have super specialized in a very small, narrow field of computer science. And the problem that happens is that they may be creating a fantastic solutions, but that solution cannot be generalized, or that idea cannot be applied beyond a very narrow scope. So I think this is where we need to understand the balance between when do you need a generalist, like you said, that the general physician who can direct you to a specialist, or who can direct you to a super specialist. Because later on, I'm sure that the day will arrive when we will have two optometrists, or whatever the term is, the eye doctors. One specializes in the left eye, and the second one, specializes in the right eye.
I
Yeah, I'm
think,
sure.
yeah,
Because there are differences. There are very,
there
very
are,
subtle differences. So
there
how
are,
narrow you
yeah.
go, right? Or the left part of your heart versus the right part of it. Or there are four, what they
Chambers.
call as chambers of heart, right? So there are four doctors, one specializes in the top left and the bottom left, and so forth. So I'm sure that the super specialization will lead us that way. But the question is that is super or specialization is good versus generalization is good.
I somehow feel that being jack of all itself is a very unique trait. They are the most adaptable, reliable, creative people. It's in itself, it's a unique trait. However, I was reading this study that most of the imposter syndrome is in people who are jack of all. And how do we change this narrative? How do we bring that change in our listener that being jack of all is a great thing? It's not a bad thing all after all.
But you see, I don't know whether it's good or bad.
Okay.
You see, and this is, I think, where we need to maybe talk about a little more is that I personally think that jack of all trades is good in certain circumstances, and specialization is good in other circumstances.
Couldn't agree more.
Whether you talk about the medical or even car mechanics. So, for example, you take your car to a mechanic, and the the so-called general physician of the car mechanics would say, "Yeah, I hear this thing. I think there is something wrong with your carburetor or engine or whatever." And then he says, "Sorry, I cannot do it, but you can take this to this particular person." So I think I think both have a role to play. The problem that we have in society today is that we are passing judgment on one versus the other, and that we have to understand. I think one of the things that we have to tell our children that, hey, figure out, would you like to be jack of all trades and be competent at it? That's the other thing, right? Jack of
Yes.
all trades doesn't mean that you are incompetent at everything. Because I have come across many jack of all trades who are equally incompetent at everything they do. But I have also, yes, so I have also come across jack of all trades who are very competent in everything they do. So I would rather have a jack of all trades who is competent in everything they do versus having a jack of all trades who is incompetent in anything they do. Or even the master of one who is competent. So I think it depends on the competence level and where it is required. Where do you apply that skills?
Rajiv, the other day we were talking about how we put this pressure on our kids. If they're excelling in studies, we want them to take something. It's no more extracurricular, it's more of a co-curricular now, that you get into sports, you get into music. If they're excelling in sports or music, we want them to take out some time and focus on studies as well. How unfair we have been with our kids with this kind of approach.
We still are. We still are. And I agree. I think that, and this is where I think we are sending or we are giving very mixed signals to our children. On one hand, we tell them be competent in everything, like sports, studies. So essentially, you want an all-rounder. We talk about all-rounder. And if you reflect on yourself, you are not even all-rounder in any of them. So
Yes.
this is where I think we go back to the parent versus the proxy living and the other things we talked about, where parents want to live their life or their dreams through their children. But apart from that, I think we need to be very clear about the message we want to give our children. And this is a very interesting thing you mentioned, because I have close friends. I know of social circle. Part of my social circle where I see that the parents are fretting about one of their child is very good at work but has no social life. Nothing in terms of the person is like a workaholic. On the other hand, they have another child who is very social, is good in networking, but is not excelling at work. And they have complained of both the children. So the question is that, I keep telling them, please figure out what you want. First of all, one, let the children decide what they want to be. And whatever their intrinsic nature is, they will excel at that. If I am an introvert, you force me to be in a social setting, I will hate it. Not only I will hate it, but I will be very bad at it. While if I'm an extrovert and you put me in a situation where the introvert skills are required, I'll be miserable. So I think that we are making our children's life more miserable by enforcing these generic narratives that we come across.
Rajiv, I think millennial parents are under extreme pressure. For everything, they have to maintain a balance. And I somehow think that world has been really unfair to millennial parents. Oh, your kid is so good at this. Why don't you work on it? Why don't you work on this? So there's a constant pressure that is being maintained on, that is there on parents. And again, it depends on you whether you want to take that pressure, not take that pressure, how you handle it. But I think it's more of being unfair with millennial parents. There is a huge set of expectations, and there's no help. We ourselves don't
I
know
don't
where
think
we are
so.
going.
I
I
don't
don't
think so.
see. There's no such thing as, yeah, this is perfect. Like I have a uh, single kid, and I would like to be ambassador for single kid, and people tell me, no, you should have two kids, this, that. I was like, no, ideal situation is four kids, two boys, two girls. So there's no such thing as ideal situation where kids get to understand everything. A sister is having a sister, a brother is having a brother. There's a complete combination. That is the ideal situation. So, anyways, I cannot get it. So be it two, three, I'm happy with one, and I'm done. So different topic together. Maybe a discussion for some other day. But coming to jack of all, one kid, two kids, whatever it is, why we are unhappy with kids when we are ourselves nowhere.
That you hit a very good point, and
Yes,
that's exactly what I
yes,
said.
I know.
That the parents, the parents, the millennial parents, and all that. First of all, even if you are getting pressured, you are a parent. Why are you passing the pressure onto the child?
That's exactly
Then
what
you're
I
not a
said. It
parent,
depends on you
right?
and how you're taking
Yeah.
that
So
pressure
yes. So now the
and how
second
you're
question
managing
is,
it.
yes, the second question is that, would you, if we are saying that we need to let the child be what they want to be or what their true nature is? We talk about self-actualization, self-realization. We talk these words, but we never walk that path. Even ourselves.
Yes,
Now, it's going to be almost a year since we've been having this podcast,
right.
right? Now, the question is that if I reflect back and you reflect back, have we changed over the last 1 year?
I have
Have
evolved.
we?
I have evolved. In all honesty, I have evolved. And
Okay,
it's visible,
good.
visibly.
Because I
So
find myself coming back to the same goalpost and say, this is where I was a year ago. That means that whatever things, discussions we had, I have not internalized them. But same thing, when we hear about these narratives, the parents talk about, hey, we should not put pressure on our children. We want them to be what they want to be and all that. Then if your child is good at being a journalist, then let him or her be a journalist. If your child is very focused, very driven towards being a specialist, then let the child be a specialist. I think that's the only thing. But the main thing is still there. I think the both of these complement each other. That's my opinion. That I think we need both journalists and we also need specialists.
Rajiv, I agree to what we've just discussed. But ultimately, we have to make a choice, either this or that. And coming back to from where I started, the corporate, if I talk about Elon Musk, he is touching all the areas, tapping all the areas. And if I know this correctly, I'm not very sure about it, but he's autistic.
Yeah.
Despite all that challenges that autistic kid has, he managed. Again, not trying to set any expectation that autistic kid can do this much. Mainstream kid could not. Maybe he was just left by himself. That okay, do whatever you want to, and he is what he is today.
There are always exceptions to the rule. So, uh, and I personally think that people like Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or many others I have seen in at least in the high tech industry. I'm sure there are similar people in other industries. They have that what you call as combination of being journalist and specialist. So if you look at even Steve Jobs, he was a journalist both in I would say, what he would call intersection of science and art. But then he was a specialist in terms of how he would be able to come up with some ideas, very innovative ideas. So I think this is where we struggle in our life. And this is where we actually talk about the self-actualization and realization that there is no one common answer to everyone.
One size doesn't fit all.
Yeah, one size does not fit all. If you look at the inventions, a lot of inventions that were made. Or, even if you look at the things that where we see that cross-pollination of ideas actually help, where you took idea from one domain or one sphere of life and applied it to other. You take idea from biology and apply it into computer science or vice versa or some other place. So those are generalists. But then there are also so many inventions that happen, or discoveries, I would say, not inventions, where somebody discovered something very unique because they were hyper focused on one particular thing.
Yes.
So it is. I struggle to give an opinion or clear judgment on one versus the other. I think this is where each of us will struggle and say, how much do I want to be a journalist and how much do I want to be a specialist? I talk about this in my book, that Rise, where I recommend that techies should read more and more about other spheres of life, like economics and psychology and all that, because they will understand how things are driven and how people will be using the technology, and vice versa. That people who are in arts, liberal arts, should be reading more about technology.
You got a very
Just to get that.
Yes, you got a very interesting topic here. And I was reading this biography of Jack Welch, and he did mention that when I joined GE, I was more of an engineer. Later on, I started thinking like a businessman.
Yes.
So if you do not allow yourself to grow, then you will be stuck. Be it a specialist, be it a generalist. I'm a generalist, but I do read about tech. I do read about what is going on in banking, insurance.
Generalists will always do.
And all the technical part, that what innovations are coming there, what is coming there, because it helps me to sustain my job. But
see, journalists will always do. The only thing is that the journalists, they remain on the surface. So what that means is that they do not go at least 1 or 2 levels deep on all the subjects. While the specialists will go very deep on one subject and will remain on surface for everything else. So for example, I remember when we were growing up, there was a lot of emphasis on general knowledge, debates and everything, that I should be able to stand up and debate about the current events, what's happening around the world or local geography or the nation, everything. That was actually a push towards being a journalist to a certain depth. I don't know whether those discussions or those emphasis still happen, because my kids have grown and all the people that I know, there's nobody in school and everything. Yeah, we are out of that age group, right?
Yeah. I mean, KBC is still there, and Who Became Millionaire, I don't know if it is still showcasing in US or not. So people do give a lot of.
Yeah, but you see, those, I'm not talking about reality shows. No, I hate reality shows.
No. So you need to have good general knowledge and good general awareness to get into those shows. That's where the comparison that I want to bring. It's not that I'm talking about reality shows or everything. I'm not even sure if they're still running or not. But yeah, for these reality shows, people do keep up with the general knowledge or general awareness, however you want to.
But see, that we come back to that people like Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Jack Welch and all that, they are unique. They became what they became because of what they were. And everybody tries to do that is they try to mimic or impersonate that behavior. And that is where I think the problem rises,
Yes.
that we tell our children, hey, read the biography of Elon Musk or read the biography of Steve Jobs, but you have not lived their life. There is no way you can be what they are.
You have
You
not
can
seen
only
their
be
struggles.
what you are.
You've not seen their struggles. So
No, not only that. You see everything. Each of us, and we'll have to understand that, do we want to be a journalist, jack of all trades and master of some? I would change that statement, if not all, of some.
yeah, I heard
Versus,
the newer version was jack of all, master of one. Master of one.
or some, whatever.
Or some, yes.
Yeah. You can be definitely master of some, if not all, one.
Right.
I that's what I think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rajiv, I think we should wrap this show.
Leave it there. Yes,
We should
because
wrap
we
this
don't know
show
whether,
because, yes,
because this is a topic that, there is no right or wrong answer.
And
we
yeah.
cannot even pass a judgment.
Exactly. And we
Yes.
need a super specialization and at least something to say whether this is a good thing or not a good thing. But yes, each one of us have a unique space on this planet, be it you are jack of all, be it you're master of one, be it you are a super specialized person. All I want to say is that be who you are and be
Mhm.
totally unapologetic about it.
Yes.
No, Rajiv, we have a beautiful quote from a book. Over to you.
Yes. Robert A. Heinlein, one of my favorite authors, science fiction authors.
Yeah.
And this is from his book, a very famous book called Time Enough for Love. It's a long quote that actually explains a lot of things that we talked about. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects.
You said it all.
Exactly. No, not me. He said it all.
He said it all.
Robert A. Heinlein, book called Time Enough for Love. But yeah, so there are a lot of quotations this guy has written in that book.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Do visit our website, thelielama.com, THELIELLAMA.com. Let us know if you want to come on our show. We'll be more than happy to host you. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.